Have you ever wanted to not go insane deploying your cloud? Maybe you want to host your own serverless functions without the tech giants burning a hole into your pocket? I mean, it sounds too good to be true. But guess what? It is your lucky day. You get our full backend features without the actual headache. And if you want to know how it actually works under the hood, it's open source, and you can check our last manual deploy video about it. Enough intros, let's get started. npm init a package.json, we need a CSV parser, a TS engine, env variable support, some XML to JS conversion, a dots wrapper, and optionally a CLI bar, some colors to your code, and for the crown jewel, Spore Drive. Add a build and a display script, the main and types destination, and change the type to module. Now let's install TypeScript, TSX, and some types. Create a tsconfig.json, replicate the options on the screen, then save and exit. All done now, we just need a PEM file for our private SSH key, a CSV file with hostname and public IPs for our hosts, an env file for our variables. Add an SSH key for our PEM private key file, a server's CSV path for our host's file, SSH user, root, and generated cloud domain. And optionally set your domain provider information for AutoDNS configuration. If not, you can do it manually. Let's create an src folder for our logic. Optionally, add the DNS client file, I'm using Namecheap. Initialize authenticated API connection to the provider's DNS service. Provide local DNS record management in memory. Enable batch DNS operations before committing. Commit all changes to the provider's servers and handle XML parsing and API errors. Save and exit, and let's handle our hosts in the csv.ts file. Define the server data structure, read the CSV file using file system, parse the CSV data into structured records, map them to server info interface, handle file reading errors, and let's tackle the main logic. Let's import Taubyte Spore Drive components for deployment, load file system, path utilities, and progress bar library. Configure environment variables from .env file, import custom CSV reader and DNS client modules we created earlier. Set up current file directory paths and define helper function to extract host and task names from paths. Optionally, initialize multi-progress bar display with small size and create individual progress bars for each host during deployment. Track deployment progress and update task status in real time. Collect the display errors and completion and throw on failure. Now for the main configuration function, set root and generated domain names from environment variables, generate domain validation keys and peer-to-peer swarm keys if missing. Configure main authentication signer with .env username and SSH key. Read SSH private key from file and store it in the configuration. Create a shape with comprehensive service list and set the main port to 4242 and light port to 4262 for services. Iterate through servers from CSV file and add new hosts with IP addresses, SSH configuration, and location. Assign the all shape to each host and add the bootstrap nodes, then commit all configuration changes. And now for the DNS configuration if you connect your provider. Check for required environment variables, extract generated domain prefix relative to the root domain, return false to skip if no credential provided, and throw an error if partial. List all configured hosts and filters for those with all shape and extract IP addresses from host configurations for SEER service. Initialize Namecheap DNS client with credential or your provider, I have Namecheap in this case, configure a record pointing SEER subdomain to selected IPs, set an NS record for Tau subdomain pointing to SEER, create a wildcard CNAME for generated domain pointing to substrate service, and commit all DNS changes to Namecheap or your provider. Ensure there is a config directory and initialize configuration. Call createConfig function to set up all host and service configuration. Initialize deployment drive with latest Tau version and execute deployment process with progress tracking. That is all for the main logic. You can add .getignore file to not push your private information. And now All you need to do is just run npm run displays. You will see your progress bars if you set them earlier. You can visit our web console at console.taubyte.com, enter your email and your cloud domain. It will test it. If there is no errors, then you're good, my friend. You can create a website, a serverless function, all this respecting privacy and security standards. Let's create a template function called ping-pong. Push our code to GitHub so that we can trigger a build. We can watch the build status from the down left tab called build. When it's finished, you can go to functions, click the lightning, and you'll get your response of Pong. This is clearly the easiest way to set up a cloud with a serverless function, all this respecting privacy and security standards. You can try it right now or look at our code on our GitHub at github.com/taubyte/tau. What are you waiting for? You can try it right now.